Hi, everyone, and welcome to Live on the Couch with Gabrielle Dolan. And I have Ruth McGowan with me, who I met Ruth. Ruth, we met quite a few years ago and have stayed in contact. But just so everyone knows, Ruth is the author of Get Elected, where, she can help. Well, I'll ask her to talk a little bit more about that. But she also helped her sister, Cathy McGowan, get elected to the federal seat of Indi. Was that in 2016 or 2006 or
13 and 16, yeah.
13 and 16, 2013 and 16. So we're here today. We're going to talk about a range of things. We're certainly going to talk about the election coming up and the rise of independence and the model and our thoughts on that, and just talk about all things leadership. So if you've got a question, pose it, and I will ask Ruth on your behalf. So, but Ruth, tell us a little bit about you and your journey into politics and getting elected, or and helping your sister get elected. So tell us a little bit about that first, so everyone gets a greater picture of who you are and what you're about.
Thanks, Ral, and it's great to be on the couch with you and settling into a long weekend because there's a holiday on Monday. I'm coming to you from Gunai country in Gippsland, Victoria. And I guess it's a bit of a long journey going back to when I was a little kid. I grew up in a large family and I had relatives that go back, I don't know, 5 or 6 generations, big farming families in northeast Victoria. And my great-grandfather, my grandfather, my uncles, my dad were all councillors and all involved in local politics. And I always thought politics was something men did until probably 15 years ago when I was an active community member where I live now in West Gippsland. It was an all-male council. I disagreed with their decisions, and I thought, if I'm going to be a change in the world, I can make stuff happen. So I threw my hat in the ring, and then I got elected as the only female councillor. Got elected again another time. Cathy, my big sister, came and helped me door knocked, and I got elected as mayor that time. And when I finished being councillor around the end of 2012, she was thinking about running for federal politics. So I came and helped her on her campaigns in 2013 and 2016. Now, they were really unique campaigns because Cathy ran as an independent for the federal seat of Indi, and she was the first female independent in federal politics in the lower house for a long, long time. It's just back then it wasn't done. It was very unusual, particularly to come from a background not previously being part of a political party. But since then, there's been lots and lots of people around the country that have taken on, I guess, the Indi model. If Cathy can do it, why not us?
Mm. And correct me if I'm wrong, in the Indi model, like Cathy got elected twice, and then another independent
Yeah,
got elected.
correct.
Is that the first time that's happened in a seat where it's changed from one independent to another independent?
It was the first time, and backing Cathy was a really strong community group called Voices for Indi. And there's also been a national movement, the Voices of Groups, which are community voices saying this is what matters to us. We want to elect someone that will take action on the things that matter to us. So now there's Voices of Groups, maybe 50 of them around Australia at the moment. And many of them have gone through a process to I guess basically like pre-select a candidate that is now standing for the federal election, which is only 30 days away from it's on Saturday, the 21st of May.
And is that the unique, I guess the unique model, the Voices for, is that they elect, like the community elect the candidate. It's not like you've got 10 independent candidates running in the community have to choose which one. They choose them before and then nominate that one. Is that I think the key to that unique model?
It is. It's a really unique model, and actually, the Voices of Indi group are currently writing a book, so they'll have a book that describes their process, and people from the Voices of group go around and share their knowledge with other Voices of groups. What they did is they asked, these are the issues that matter to us as a community, and they did this process called kitchen table conversations, where they went out and had literally kitchen table conversations, talking to people across the community. What's important to you? Put it all in a document. And then they said, we're looking for a candidate that's going to take these issues to Canberra for us. And when Cathy had announced that she wanted to put a succession process in place, because she'd done 2 terms, a bit like the US president, I guess, model, the Voices of Group put on a pre-selection process, and they selected Helen Haynes, who Cathy worked with and supported in 2019, as did hundreds and hundreds of community members. And then Helen got elected in 2019, and she's standing again this time for Indi.
Yeah, it sounds like such a great model.
But who'd have thunk, Ralph? Like people going, this is what's important to us. Can our local representative go into bat for us in Canberra? I mean, even political parties don't do that. We've seen this currently in New South Wales. Even the local Liberal Party members have been shut out with this so-called captain's pick, where the boss comes in and says, bad luck, this is who I'm putting in. So even the political parties don't do it properly, but the Voices of Groups have got a really fantastic model, which is about community empowerment and listening.
Yeah, it seems quite a respectful model, doesn't it? And it you know what else also it comes to me, it doesn't seem like rocket science. It seems like the most obvious way to do it, but yeah, we're seeing what we're doing now, like the example you gave, where a captain's pick comes in and just chooses, no, this is your person. So I would love, so you've written a book too called Get Elected. That's been out for quite a few years now, has it?
That's it. Like I've done 2 editions of it, and
yeah,
like when you start out, I just wanted to write a manual to explain, particularly for independent candidates, local, state, or federal. This is the step-by-step way how to do it, a bit like a recipe, but make it a bit fun.
Yeah.
Because I reckon there's a lot about the major political parties that keep politics secret party business, and either it's deliberately or subtly, but it keeps people out out of politics. Whereas there's Pericles, 400 BC, Greek general philosopher, said, you may not take an interest in politics, but politics will take an interest in you. So whatever you do, all these people, good on you for tuning in tonight, but there are hundreds and thousands and millions of Aussies out there who don't even know there's an election, don't know anything about their candidate. And unfortunately, by not taking an interest in politics, the relentless situations that people care about, particularly like climate change, nothing's going to happen on it. We're still looking at 2050 zero net carbon while the rest of the OECD countries are moving on. So if people care about stuff, politics is the arena where it's happening. And if you're not taking an interest in it, other people are, and they're going to drive your agenda. So I wrote my book for normal, ordinary people just like me. I'm nothing fancy. I've never been a union rep. I'm not a lawyer. I've never worked as a staffer. But how did normal, ordinary people who care about things get elected? And that's why I wrote that book. And it's sold more than 3,000 copies now, which apparently is a bestseller for a self-published book.
Well done.
The hands of a lot of people.
Yeah. Okay, great. And so I really want to speak about why, and I've got some theories, but why now do you think because it's just an increasingly amount of independents running, but also like with a big chance of winning their seats. We saw it in the last election, a few get up, but there's a lot more going this year. What are your thoughts on why that's happening and why it's happening now?
Well, stating the obvious is there's a lot of female independents, isn't there?
Yes.
And, we know some of them, like the Zali Stegels, Karen Phelps, Rebecca Sharkey, Helen Haynes, and people like Dr. Monique Ryan, that's running for Zoe Daniels, yeah. So the women are running, and guess why? Well, you know why.
I think we all know why. Are we all just sick of pale male and stale and want some?
Like, give me another man in a suit talking about some BS on TV or in an office. Like, what matters to women, and I'm going to be quite general here, a future for our kids, for our planets, care for the elderly, fairness and transparency and gender equality, like all that stuff from Brittany Higgins, Grace Tame. I reckon there's a quiet rage building in Australian women going, enough's enough, fellas. Let some professional, competent, clever women in and let them sort it out. Give a busy woman a job. I mean, we're talking about doctors, journalists, women that have had their own careers, former CEOs that are now going, oh my God, this is so bad. I'm just going to have to step in and do something. So there have been so many women independents I've spoken to, and a couple of the fellas that have said, I can't keep screaming at the TV. I've got to put my hand up and stand.
Yeah, I remember when watching, the US election and, with Trump and Biden thinking, are they the two best candidates that that country has? But you look at our same situation and go, are they our two best that we think can run this country? And no one would agree that they're, the two best. So, I am very excited about this election.
I mean,
To see what happens.
why do you think we've got a lot of independents? What's the change you're feeling? Why do you think we've got a surge?
So I think that both major parties have underestimated how climate change is a major driver for especially the young generation, where it's their highest priority, and I think they've missed that. They don't have the courage to commit to things like that. At the moment, we've got the Nationals with the balance of power. So, that's why the current government aren't doing anything about climate change. And to me, why I'm excited about it is I would love the balance of power to be with a handful of really smart independents than what the current balance of power is at the moment. And so, I think the younger and you talked about before, like people don't take an interest in politics or turning off. I think people are sick of the way the debate. Well, it's not even a debate. It's like almost they just sort of fight with each other, and it's almost like no matter, someone could put up a good idea, and it doesn't matter how good of an idea is, just because they're in opposition, they say no, that's not a good idea. And I think people just get sick of it and look at it all and think it's so childish. So it is refreshing to see some independents, and when they speak, you feel like they make sense. And even though you might not agree with everything they're saying, they're passionate. And I think that's why I think people are sort of leaning towards more the independents. You said before we started, it was, I think, the last election, a third of voters didn't vote for a major party.
One in four
for a
major party, and the polling at the moment is showing 1 in 3
right.
won't vote for a major party.
Mm.
So it's a bit of a seismic shift. And when you talked about the balance of power, Karen Phelps uses this interesting term, which is the power of balance. And
right, okay.
And you work a lot with corporate leaders, and that skill of being able to collaborate and negotiate and have diverse voices around the table. The evidence is there, whether it's HBR or your own experience in a workplace, that you get better decisions when you hear different, and you collaborate and compromise and give a little bit, take a little bit, don't you? So that's that power of balance stuff. And interestingly, there are quite a lot of parliaments around the world that there's not a majority government of a major party. They have to compromise. And actually here in Australia, the Tasmanian government's had quite a few parliaments, state parliaments there, which are a compromise with different parties, ACT. So hung parliaments, so-called hung parliaments, are not a new thing. Let's talk about a well-hung parliament that's not just full of blokes, as Julie Bishop says, big swinging dicks. Let's get a big whole range in there and get a well-hung parliament where you can have the power of balance.
Yeah, I love that. Hey, we got a question from Lisa. It's a bit of a long one, so I'm going to read it out and I'm going to throw it to you to answer. As diverse as Australian regions are, the voices of groups are also very different. Some with experiences, some very green, some have lost their identity as infiltrated with sleeper members from the two-party groups. And therefore, each group has a unique ethos where some do choose to endorse a person to select a candidate, and other voice of groups choose community democracy and do not select a candidate, but inform all the candidates across the electorate of the needs within that seat. Okay, so that's more of a comment than a question, but your thoughts on that?
I think this is messy. There's not a textbook way how to set up a voices of group and select an independent, and every group will have their own way of doing it. So the playbook of Indi, it might be useful, maybe not, but every community has different needs and they work differently, whether you're in, northern Western Australia compared to lower socioeconomic northwest Tasmania or, northern Sydney suburbs. So every group is going to be different how they do it. I think if there's any social researchers looking at this in 10 years' time, it would be a great PhD topic to go, well, what is the best things of voices groups that can be taken as a new organic way of doing democracy? So it's messy, it's exciting. Do people stuff up? Of course they do. Sometimes, they might select a candidate and the candidate gets cold feet and goes, oh my gosh, I didn't realise got carried away by endorphin, put my hand up, but I can't actually do that job. Because being a candidate isn't for everyone. It's a tough gig. I just think it's messy. We need to be patient and understanding, and people make mistakes, but there's also some really good things coming out of it too.
Yeah, I mean, I guess by the very nature that they're independents, they will perhaps run the way they run the campaign and select the candidate will be independent and suited to what they need. But yeah, you would hope that all the lessons learnt from the Voices of Indi and how that successfully worked, that others take that as a way, as the rule book or the manual.
Groups like Voices of Kooyong, Voices of Goldstein, Voices of North Sydney, they're all making up the rules as they go along. And I just find this is what's exciting about independence and democracy being so raw and messy that any of us can come in and play. It's sort of like, I guess I draw the analogy of AFL footy, that there's been two major teams that have been playing and have had the franchise on the MCG forever, and now there's some little upstarts having a kick out in the hollow ground saying, come and have a kick with us, come and have a play. We might just score a goal as well, but it's fun. Come and play with us. Come and get involved in democracy. And I love that invitation. So I guess if anyone's really interested, join your local Voices of group, get behind an independent candidate, go and door knock for her, see how it's working, and get a bit excited and book into a party on the 21st of May and watch what happens. It's going to be, I'm there for it, Ralph. I've got the bottle of wine already picked. I stay home on election night. I tweet. I have a couple of screens open, and I have Anthony Green and ABC. And for me, this is my grand final night. Like, I'm just in it.
I agree. I can't believe how excited I get watching the election campaign. In fact, this one coming up, we'll be potentially visiting friends in Noosa, and when they announced the campaign, I just said, "Okay, just checking in. Are we watching the election? Because otherwise I'd have to sort of can." And she went, no. She goes, remember you were at our place last election. I was like, oh, right. Yeah. Last election was the election in Eurovision. There was a bit of a, where to go.
Yeah. Yes.
I was wondering, okay, Lisa's just said, thanks. Very exciting times. Look forward to the publication being born and bred in Lisa's from Indi. So I wanted to ask, I wonder if, because you talked about a lot of independents say, yep, I'll put their hand up, and no doubt they have a lot of people going, no, you'd be great at this, you'd be great at this. Zoe Daniels springs to mind, so I know Zoe, and Zoe's going to be joining us live on the couch in a couple of weeks. So she said that she kept getting approached to run as an independent, and it took her about a month with lots of conversations with her family to say, I'll do this. And, her beautiful story is that her son actually said, well, Mum, if, you need to do it for us, if not you, who's going to do it? And that's almost become her tagline. But I wonder if if some independents, like, they do it and it's sort of almost like, let's do it, let's give the major parties a bit of a scare, and then they actually they go so well that they win, and it's like a big surprise. Like, did Cathy truly expect to win, or did it come as a bit of a surprise when she actually won?
Once she made her mind up to put her hand up, she was there to win. Like, she doesn't do anything by halves, but she knew, everyone working on her campaign knew it was going to be an uphill battle with the like, the seat had always been held by the Liberal Party forever, and held it was a very safe seat. So she didn't know she was going to win, but she was going to give it a bloody good crack trying and just see what happened. And miraculously, she only won by about 400 votes. It was first time. It was very, very close, and a bit more second time. But I think, for most of these independents, even if they don't get elected, they've been really successful in changing the debate and the discussions. So now, for where I live, it's a very safe seat, the seat of Monash. It's been held by the Liberal incumbent for decades. And now the upcoming candidate forums are going to be talking about, what are you doing about climate action? What are you doing about a Federal Integrity Commission? What are you doing about implementing the recommendations of the Jenkins Review into making Parliament House a safe workplace? So all these questions are going to be asked now. And even if the seat doesn't change hands, the debate is changing. People are taking more of an interest in politics. It's almost like there's a fresh breath of air coming through. Now, I don't know, is this happening in your seat? Are you noticing any excitement, or,
Yeah.
how's your
I mean,
seat different? It's not held
yeah,
by one of
so
the major parties, so what's different?
yeah, so again, just on that too, I think even if the independents don't win, if they can give and it can change the debate, because then the parties will go, well, they almost won running a campaign on the things you spoke, so maybe we need to take them a bit seriously. I'm from the seat of Melbourne, so we got Adam Bant as the federal minister there. I don't think there's I'm not actually sure if there's an independent running in Melbourne. There could be. I probably should have checked that out before this, but
But he sits on the crossbench with the others, so yeah, I guess
yeah,
it's on the crossbench, even though he's from a minor party.
yeah,
But I was thinking of your point too. The other thing, independents are fighting, like, not just changing they're not just fighting for presence, like, give me money, make us a unsafe seat so we get more grants and more presents from Santa Claus, the taxpayer. That's just not their gig. It's like, we want a serious discussion about climate action before the planet heats up and makes it unlivable for our kids.
mm,
You know, we don't want a big battery as a present or another wind farm. We actually want policy action on this. And what I'm loving seeing across the platforms of the different independents is the policy levers they're trying to pull. And they're actually been able to pull some of those in the debates as well, which hopefully we'll see more of in the next 4 weeks of discussions with the major parties as well. That would be
yeah.
great, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot more. Well, I don't know. Growing up, I never really was into politics and never spoke about it. And I've got 2 children. One's right into it. She's actually studying global politics at uni, so she's into it. The other one, not so much. But they're still a lot more into politics than I think my generation was at their age. And what did it come through? I think we're at like 96% of eligible people that can vote are enrolled. And that's like,
Incredible.
that's amazing, because again, correct me if I'm wrong, it's you don't have to enroll to vote, do you? But once you're enrolled to vote, you have to vote, but you don't actually legally have to enroll in to vote. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. You
Yeah.
don't have to. But
So you've got this whole generation of younger people going, "No, I wanna vote. I'm signing up to vote." And to have 96% of the population
doesn't that,
enrolled to vote is unbelievable.
doesn't that give you goosebumps? Like, but I feel sorry because they've got to take action to save the planet that, the boomers and the X's and everyone else has stuffed up for them. But they're
Yeah,
going, and I think that they're getting activated around climate action. They're getting activated around, the cost of living, that they're never going to get a house unless the bank of mum and dad come through. They got activated around the marriage equality debate. So many of them enrolled then as well to vote in that plebiscite. So currently,
Yeah, I agree. I think the marriage equality debate is when a whole heap of 16-year-olds, said, the moment I can vote, I want to vote. And it got that generation really excited about voting then.
yeah, bring them on. I just can't wait till more of them stand. Do you reckon your daughter might be interested in standing one day? I'll send you a copy of my book for her.
She's not.
That saying, don't
She's,
get mad, get elected. This is it. We need these young people are so set. Like, look at the Grace Tames and Brittany Higgins. Like, I'm not saying
yeah.
they should run for politics, but their advocacy, what they're doing, has your daughter been inspired by that activism?
I mean, she's always been interested in politics. I don't know if she'd ever run. She might. I think her boyfriend might run. He's right into politics. They're probably listening now and going, "Mum, why are you telling everyone that?" But yeah, it is like the likes of Grace Tame, where I would never go into politics, but she's changing the debate anyway. Like
Yeah,
she's having an impact on the debate. She's
yeah,
having an impact on the policies being set, but she's
yeah.
doing that from outside the system, which, there's different ways you can change the policy, isn't there?
Exactly, and that's the big P of party, party politics, and then the small P of political savvy. So chip, chip, chipping away
Yeah.
is you can really make a big difference there. And I think also what people are seeing in the independents and that some of the names we've mentioned this evening is authenticity of independence, that they're not being bought by anyone. They've lived their lives and they're going, this is me, this is what I stand for. I know that's really big. You're big on authenticity and authentic
Yep.
leaders. And there's no bullshit with these people. Like, you can see their past. They're not pretending to be what they aren't. And they're not being funded by $100 million from the coal and gas lobbies. If they've been funded by organisations like Climate 200, they say that's on their web pages to support climate action. But I think what you see is what you'll get. They're real
Yeah.
people. They're messy hair days. They're not kafooed within an inch of their life. Like, they're real people. And I think,
Yeah.
are we being drawn to that? Can we smell authenticity? Is that what we
Yeah.
want now?
I think we are too. I look at the likes of Jackie Lambie. Now, do I agree with all her policies? No, but I look at her and go, she is so real. She
Yeah,
is so authentic.
yeah,
And I think she's really matured as a politician, and she would say that herself.
yeah,
What I also think is attractive about independents is that they're not there for the power.
yeah,
So they're never going to be prime minister. Like, then
yeah.
that's never going to happen. They're there to
Mm,
make a difference, not
mm.
to work their way up to being prime minister, because they won't do it. And I also think too, they're there to make a difference, and they know when it's time to leave. Just like your sister, wasn't a cling to power, and this is, you see the desperation of politicians, where they cling, knowing it would be actually better for them to pass the baton on to someone else, but they don't, because they're so obsessed with the power. And I reckon you're going to have a lot of independents that come in. If they get elected, they might stay, they might do a second term, but then they're probably going to go, you know what, I'm here, I've done what I came to do, and now I'll leave and hand it over to someone else.
Yeah, and I guess, like with the Indi model, it was an experiment that the electorate tested out, and twice they elected Cathy, something very brave, and they go, actually, this is okay.
Mm,
Like, we've been eating wheat Bix or Kellogg's our whole life, but actually we've just tried Carmen Muesli and we don't mind it. So let's get another independent again in. It's a bit like that. It's like trust the electorate. I love the trust of the electorate to go, actually, we quite like that flavour. Let's try it again. And the other
mm,
great thing about independence, it's not just the campaign. It's not just getting elected. Cathy worked so hard as the local member that she would listen to people. And when she went to vote, in that huge big chamber, which I'm sure many people listening here tonight have either seen Question Time or been to Canberra, whether it's a school excursion or more recently. When Cathy went to the chamber, she voted because she was well informed with what her electorate want. It wasn't looking at a pager and doing what your party whips told you to do. She voted for what the community wanted, and the community got a taste of that, and they love it. Someone that listens to them and votes the majority of time how they want and expect of a local member. But the day-to-day job of a local member is a lot of hard work too, but to have someone that listens to you, what a gift.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I seriously take my hat off to any independent running, because they just must know that now they're going to be public property. It's going to be a bit of damned if you do, damned if you don't. There's going to have people attacking them, trying to find ways to attack them any way possible. It's going to get personal, but to still say this matters so much, I'm gonna put my hand up to do it. So, I mean, I'd never be a politician.
Well, I reckon that, but you've got a lot of political savvy. You might be small politician, and in all the organisations that you've worked with, the people you work with, you do get politics and you get influence. But maybe you'd never be a politician, but you'd certainly vote for one. And I'd be encouraging people that are listening, go in and have a look and see who your independents are. And look, if you've always voted for a major party, if you've always eaten Weet-Bix for brekkie, just try something a bit different. Have a mouthful of Carmen muesli and then go to your Weet-Bix. Vote an independent first and then put a party second. At least it sends a message.
Yeah. And I also think too, the younger generation these days are just not voting for the party that their parents voted for. Because they're just, and I think that happened for generations. You just sort of voted whoever your parents voted for. But that's not happening now, and they're making their own mind up, which is good. Yeah. It's very exciting.
How exciting is it going to be? I mean, that's why I'm 30 sleeps away. I tell you, I reckon we're on the cusp of seeing a whole new way of how politics is done in Australia. Like, if we have at least, there's 4 current crossbenchers, if they get re-elected and only another 3 more out of those 50 plus, we're going to see a huge change in Australian politics. It's going to be exciting. More and more people are going to take an interest in it. I think we're going to feel proud of our politics. I do hope. I am really optimistic for that. We will take an interest in it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's going to be exciting times. We got Eurovision the week before, so that hasn't collided this year. I'm glad to say we got Eurovision the week before, and then we've got the election the week after that. It's going to be very exciting, May. Hey, Ruth, thank you so much for joining me on the couch. I've enjoyed our chat, and I might text you on the 21st of May to see how you're preparing. You got your do you have the paper ripped out with the highlighters and you mark off the seats as you go?
Listening
to the ABC.
I'm listening to them. I know the ones. I know quite a few of the candidates. I don't know. It's a bit like a Melbourne Melbourne Cup horse race, and you might have, a few of the trainers, and a few of the animals. Like, what is it like? I don't know. I'm just going to be like a kid in a lolly shop watching it, and also Eurovision. But that's my night of nights. I mean, I call me a political nerd, but it is something that I do take an interest in, as you can tell. I'm really passionate about it.
Yeah, I think you would
talk about it on the couch, and thanks for everyone for tuning in and doing your bit to try and understand more about politics and taking an interest in it. That's just fantastic.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks, Ruth. Thanks everyone for joining us. I'm going to try to do this on a regular basis. We've got a few other, like I said, Zoe Daniels going to join us on the 12th of May, I do believe. But you follow me and you'll see what's coming up next. So thanks, everyone.
Thanks.